Back in November in Island County, Washington, the auditor there put down a mandate as ballot counting was happening for the November election that observers and ballot counters had to be masked in that room. That was the decision that the auditor had made. There had been some sort of outbreak of COVID previously in the ballot room, and so she thought masking was going to do the trick. And that's 2024. So, of course, we're far beyond the point of masking. And Republicans in particular in Island County had a problem with it. And they felt like it was a rule that was going to unfairly impact their ability to send in election observers. Because let's be honest, Democrats are more eager to wear masks still in 2025 than Republicans are. So they felt like their ability to be there and to be monitoring the election, the ballot counting, should outweigh the desire of the auditor for them to wear flimsy paper masks that we know don't really do anything to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So at the time, and what we talked about last week, there is a man named Tim Hazelow who decided, screw it, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to sit there and do my duty as the chair at the time of the Island County Republican Party, and I'm going to observe ballot counting and I'm not going to wear a mask. And if they decide to remove me, so be it. And that's exactly what happened.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Miller?
What's your name?
Tim Hazelow.
Tim Hazelow?
Yeah, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've met before.
So, tell me what's going on here.
I'm just observing my civil rights as the observer.
Okay, but as I know, they made a policy that you wear a mask while you're in
which
here.
the RCW doesn't give them the authority to do so.
That's still a policy that's been set. And they've made that very clear to you.
Are you guys going to cite me for being here?
I'm going to ask you to leave.
I'm going to sit here and watch the balloting.
Then I'm going to insist
like
that you leave.
I'm going to sit here and watch the balloting.
No, you're not. Okay? You need to leave.
Are you going to write me a citation?
If I need to.
Then
let's go. The charge is disorderly conduct.
Gotcha.
Okay, you have a mandatory court appearance.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for me? I'm going to
no.
ask you not to return here today.
I won't.
Or you can end up in jail.
So he cited that day, and this was a couple days before the November election, for disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor. Now, I have an issue with that charge in and of itself. Nothing I saw in the video, in the body camera video, rose to the level of disorderly conduct. Now, I also believe Tim Hazelow went in there knowing he was supposed to wear a mask and didn't. And he even wanted, it seemed, to get cited so that he could sort of challenge this ruling. I think the rule about masking is stupid, but, he knew he was going to get into something that day. Disorderly conduct? I think not, but that's the charge that he was facing. So fast forward, and he, as we reported last week, has now been charged with a felony after the elected prosecutor in that county sent his attorney an email basically saying either he pleads guilty to that misdemeanor, or if he's going to insist on taking this to court, we're going to charge him with a felony crime for being in a ballot counting room unlawfully, which is a felony under RCW, even though Tim Hazelow had signed in, was in there with the permission to be in there. The only issue was he wasn't wearing a mask. So now all of a sudden, Tim Hazelow is facing a felony charge for being in the ballot counting room without a mask on and for not wanting to leave. He joined us on the show last week, and he's defiant, but he was also very emotional when it came to the possibility of becoming a felon.
I get a little emotional because I'm really worried. But our forefathers didn't give up. And this is crap.
It is crap. So there's a couple updates that we have for you on this today. So we had mentioned one of the issues here that's a pretty glaring issue is the Island County elected prosecutor, Greg Banks, is a vehement anti-Trumper. He, several years ago, was actually in the news because of some of his unhinged social media posts, not only about Donald Trump and Trump supporters and Republicans, but about people who refuse to wear a mask. He compared Trump supporters to the KKK. He called them racist bullies with second-grade intellects and behavioral disorders. He said, even after we flush Trump, we have a difficult job to cleanse society of their diseased thinking. He said collateral damage is a bitch, referring to the possibility that people would die if they didn't wear a mask, anti-maskers. So you see the clear conflicts here, right? We've got a prosecutor. First of all, he's dramatically overcharging this case. Seems like he's trying to make an example out of Tim Hazelow. And there are clearly, this is what conflict of interests are all about, right? You have a clear conflict of interest here. You were in the news for unhinged rants about Trump supporters, Republicans, and people who don't wear masks. So as you know, after we broke this story last week, actually before we had it on the show, we had reached out to the Island County prosecutor, Greg Banks, with a long list of questions for him about this case, about the RCW that he's charging Tim Hazelow with a felony under, about whether it's warranted in this case, and of course about the political underpinnings of the case. So he sent us, Nicole and I both agree, we've never quite gotten a response like this from an elected prosecutor about an ongoing case. It was incredibly lengthy. I can't read the whole thing for you. It would take like 20 minutes. And to me, it really seemed like he was on the defensive. Like he was trying to prove to us that what he was doing was just and absolutely not political at all, which I, of course, disagree with. Now, I appreciate him taking the time to respond. He was also just very, sanctimonious, the word? Condescending. I think condescending, for instance, I'm just going to read you 3 or 4 excerpts from his response. So first, in terms of, the facts of the case and my assertion that the felony that Tim Hazelow is being charged under doesn't apply here because he was authorized to be in that room. He signed in to be in that room. Now, they wanted him to leave because he wasn't wearing a mask, but we have a felony on the books for unauthorized entry to like an election office, ballot facility. It's very clear that has to do with people maybe storming in. People coming in and demanding to see ballot counting who aren't authorized to be there. It clearly has no relevance to this case. So here's part of his response. This is where I get the condescending part from. I prefer to litigate my cases in a courtroom, subject to rules of evidence and judicial oversight, as opposed to the freewheeling world of podcasts and social media. I'm not surprised that Mr. Hazelow denies committing the crimes with which he has been charged. That is his right to demand proof beyond a reasonable doubt before a jury of his peers. Okay. So the other question we'd asked him in our lengthy inquiry to his office before our segment initially aired, we had given them plenty of time, was, why are you personally involved in the case? I covered crime and justice exclusively for a long time. It was very rare for the elected prosecutor to step in and personally prosecute cases. You might see it in a very high-profile homicide case, for instance. You might see it then. But in a case that started as a misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, the elected prosecutor himself went to court for that. The first time, when it was just a misdemeanor, when they had their initial hearing on it. So we asked why. Why, is that normal for you? It's a small county. We didn't know. It's a small county. Maybe it is totally normal for the elected prosecutor to be in court for things like this. But even he acknowledges that it's not, that this is very out of the ordinary. He said, I don't know when the last time was that I personally attended a hearing for misdemeanor crimes. I do follow certain misdemeanor cases when warranted, although it's admittedly infrequent. This is obviously a case with entirely different stakes than ordinary misdemeanor crimes, as the crime concerns unlawful interference with the administration of a presidential election. That is a very telling statement. So not only is he admitting, highly unusual for me to take on the case, he knows the case is getting public attention. Let's be honest here. He has a clear political bias, which we'll get to more in a moment. But when he's saying this is obviously a case with very different stakes, so you're admitting that this is a special case as opposed to other misdemeanor crimes, because he initially charged this as a misdemeanor. So this, in his eyes, is special, which I think feeds into the idea that he has a political bias that is motivating this case being dramatically overcharged. And for him saying the crime concerns unlawful interference with the administration of a presidential election, was the administration of the presidential election stopped, interfered with? Nobody is suggesting that ballot counting stopped during this period where Tim Hazelow refused to wear a mask. He had sat in there for some time while they were counting ballots completely uninterrupted. So it's a gross mischaracterization and over-exaggeration for him to say that Tim Hazelow sitting there not wearing a mask and the roughly 30 seconds police were in there talking to them interfered with the administration of a presidential election. Crazy stuff. So then it gets to the big question I think that everyone wants to know, and that I'm glad he at least answered our questions about. Should you recuse yourself? You already admitted you don't usually get involved in cases like this anyway, that a deputy prosecuting attorney would do that. But you have been in the news for hateful, very hateful and vile comments about Trump supporters, Republicans, people who don't wear masks. All of those things relevant to this case. Now, before I read his response, I would say that conflict of interest when it comes to a court of law and a court proceeding is obviously very important. There's a reason why you have these, judges who might recuse themselves, or prosecutors who might recuse themselves, or defense attorneys who won't take on a client because they have a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest doesn't mean that you are absolutely not able to handle the case fairly. It's very possible that if you have a conflict of interest, you're still going to go in there and do the job the way that you would have, but it's the perception that is also a problem. The public needs to perceive that the judicial system can function fairly. So even if he thinks that he can handle the case fairly and that his personal political bias won't intervene, does the public believe, Mr. Banks, who elected you, that you can handle the case fairly? So it's not just in action, it's in perception as well. And he doesn't seem to understand that. So two-part statement here from him on whether he needs to recuse himself. He said, I see no reason to recuse myself. My personal opinions about President Trump expressed during his first term as president are irrelevant to this case involving an act allegedly committed by someone other than President Trump. I don't know how he can say that they're irrelevant. They're incredibly relevant. You clearly dislike Trump supporters and Republicans. You wish death on people who don't wear masks, like said it would be karma for them. How can you not see the relevance there? He goes on to say about his former posts on social media, after receiving criticism of my ill-advised posts about President Trump on my personal Facebook account many years ago, I reconsidered the wisdom of trying to be funny about topics that many people were very sensitive about. I publicly apologized for offending people and then deleted my Facebook account 6 or 7 years ago. I reconsidered the wisdom of trying to be funny about topics that many people were very sensitive about. So as you can imagine, I had some follow-up questions to Mr. Banks after he sent us his replies. And one of them was, what is funny about comparing Trump supporters to the KKK? What is funny about calling Trump supporters racist bullies with second-grade intellects and behavioral disorders while in elected office? What is funny about saying, even after we flush Trump, we have a difficult job to cleanse society of their diseased thinking? What is funny about saying collateral damage is a bitch in response to a post about someone hoping that anti-maskers are killed instantly by COVID-19? I think I have a pretty good sense of humor. I find humor in a lot of things. I'm not easily offended. But I really struggle with what he found funny and finds funny today about those posts. Because again, he's saying he apologized for them, he removed them, but in the same breath, he's saying that he was trying to be funny about topics that many people were very sensitive about. I hate to break it to you, Prosecutor Banks, but clearly you're not very funny, because I don't find those things funny at all. And it's concerning to me that as an elected prosecutor, you don't see the very, very clear conflict of interest that you have here. And the lack of judgment, even back then, as an elected prosecutor, you should never have posted things like that, knowing that people would question your ability to do your job without fear of favor. So all of that's happening, right? Tim Hazelow, that story went national. He's being charged with a felony. He says he's not going to back down. The prosecutor thinks there's no reason in the world he should recuse himself, says he's not going to litigate this case in the freewheeling world of podcasts, although he sent us a very lengthy response. We haven't gotten a response to our follow-up questions, which were also numerous. But there is another update to this. So we were informed the day that we aired that interview with Tim Hazelow that a second Island County Republican is now being threatened with felony charges unless she pleads guilty to a misdemeanor for her decision not to wear a mask inside the ballot counting room. So this was the very first woman who was removed from the ballot counting room a couple days before Tim Hazelow was. This was, I think, October 31st. There was ballot counting going on. Her name is Tracy Abel. And this is video of her being walked out, not in handcuffs, not under arrest or anything, the day that she declined to wear a mask.
Well, I'm sorry you had to come to this.
Okay, I am too.
Okay, but I have to take a stand for people.
Okay. Well, you've been asked to leave. I appreciate you leaving on your own accord.
Well, I'm not leaving on my own accord here. You guys are escorting me out.
Okay, we are.
That is not leaving on my own accord here.
All right. Have a good day.
That seems like it was pretty polite to me, don't you think? Where they say, hey, she says, I'm sorry it had to come to this. She's not under arrest or anything, wasn't cited with anything that day. The officers aren't wearing masks either. And they said, well, appreciate you leaving on your own. And she says, well, you're making me leave, essentially. But I mean, did anything in that video look like it would rise to the level of a felony offense? Well, Tracy Abel has informed us that she got a similar email to what Tim Hazelow got from Island County Prosecutor Greg Banks saying either you plead guilty to a misdemeanor crime on this or we are going to charge you. I mean, you'll meet Tracy in a second. I think elderly is a weird word to describe her because she does not seem elderly in the slightest. But this guy, this prosecutor, is so unhinged about this that he's going to take this older woman, gray hair and all, sweet lady who walked out very kindly, very understanding, and he's going to, in a state that is soft on crime, in a state that is pushing laws, Democrats in Olympia, to take it easy on child sex predators, to take it easy on gun offenders, to take it easy on gang members. In Island County, he is going to charge this woman with a felony crime because she had to be escorted out of a ballot counting room because she refused to wear a mask. So Tracy Abel was nice enough to join us exclusively on Undivided. Tracy, welcome to Undivided.
Hi, Brandi. Thanks for having me. Welcome to my kitchen.
Yeah, well, I joked when we got on the call. I said, there's my future felon, but I don't think there is a jury in the world that will convict you of a felony for this. So first of all, you haven't been charged with a felony yet, but you, like Tim Hazelow, got the kind of threatening email saying, if you don't plead guilty to a misdemeanor, we will charge you with a felony, correct?
Right? Can you believe that? I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So for you, how do you plan? I mean, let's say that you never got that email and it is from the elected prosecutor, right, Mr. Banks?
Well, he sent it to my lawyer.
Gotcha.
Oh, the lawyer sent it to me, and yeah.
Yeah. So if that had never come, I mean, what was your plan? Were you still planning to fight the misdemeanor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna dismiss it because it's just, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't have to, don't make me wear a mask. I mean, we have fought this for years. I have stacks and stacks of paperwork that says the mask doesn't work. So you're making me wear a mask. And, the workers in there, oh my gosh, I'm glad that guy didn't have his mask on because they can't breathe in these. It was really heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching to watch it. And it's heart-wrenching for me because I'm just not going there, right?
And we'll talk about that video, the notorious Como video of like a day after you get escorted out, someone in there not wearing a mask, because I think it's crucial to this case. But, now you're being threatened with a felony. A felony, as you know, is very serious. So is there a part of you that just wants to plead guilty to the misdemeanor so you don't have to face a felony?
Absolutely not.
That's what I was
Are you
hoping you'd
kidding?
say.
I'm like, gee, I mean, this is desperate. And, but I had no idea. I've never dealt with Mr. Banks before. I mean, somebody said something, well, you better watch out. I had no idea until I saw some of the stuff he had posted before. And so,
And what do you make of that? We've shared it on the show, and we had Tim on last week comparing Trump supporters and are you a Trump supporter?
Absolutely.
I like
Yep.
that. Okay. I knew I liked you. So he called Trump supporters, he compared them to the KKK. He said we need to rid the world of your diseased thinking, suggested that it would be like karma if anti-maskers died of COVID-19. So knowing what you know about this particular prosecutor's political animus, what do you believe the motivation for this case is?
Well, I believe it's political. I mean, the Democrats have no problem going in there, wearing a mask. I mean, they were lining up, and I don't care. You want to wear a mask, you're fine. And I believe it was intentional because, I'm one of those people that started because I saw the nonsense 4 years ago. And I knew, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, a grandma. That was my life. I love my life. But I said, you know what? This isn't happening on my watch. And how can I be quiet knowing my children, my grandkids are in school with masks? And so I had to engage, and I just went through the process. I had to learn the Republicanism. I guess that's what you call it, being a Republican, how to do that. Da, da, da. I always voted, but I found I was missing a whole bunch. I had no clue of what was happening. And so once I started, because I'm one of those that once you get going, and I'm not quiet. If I see something wrong, I'm going to stand up. You're not doing that. Can we just do the right thing? It's kind of funny. That same week that I was escorted out of the auditors or the election office, I was actually escorted out of by the police at a school board meeting for my protection, because our school board meetings, we've got a school board trying to do the right thing, and we have a mob. They're going to tag us in the parking lot. Just this last school board meeting, they went after an 80-year-old grandma.
Wow.
Right? So the fight's real, Brandi.
Well, I got to come out to Island County. Apparently, I need to get in the fight with you guys on Island County because you're running circles around me.
It's crazy. It's just, we just want to do the right thing. Protect our children, right? Make sure. The whole reason for me actually observing his elections is to protect our election workers as well, to say, hey, yeah, there's no cheating going on here, right? Yeah. Everything's good. And everything was good until we couldn't reconcile like 3 votes or something. And then next thing I know, okay, you be in the hallway. You can, that's why, because everybody's like, well, the police officers weren't wearing one.
Yeah.
If you stand in the hallway, in the doorway, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, okay, I can't do my job effectively observing anything, peeking around a doorway to see if I can see it. So
can I ask you, Tracy, just to get some details? First of all, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, we'll practice for court here. So we've seen the video of you coming out, and even the law enforcement says thank you for leaving on your own, and you said, well, FYI, I'm not. You're escorting me out because it was important for you to let them know I would not leave on my own if that were the choice, right? We don't yet have the body camera video like we do with Tim of the initial interaction with police and everything that happened in there. Did you do anything else that we need to know about besides just refuse to wear a mask?
No.
Nothing that could be could rise to the level of a felonious activity?
No, I thought about it, but I thought, I'll just walk out. Let's just go,
Yeah.
Because before the incident, I talked to the police officer and I said, at some point I'm going in there. Okay. Because this can't stand. This is unconstitutional. You have elected official making rules without the health department knowing.
Yeah.
Okay. And this could happen statewide. If it's not me, it could be another small county. So, this is setting precedent. And I just had to make a stand that no, we're not going to wear a mask. Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, but no, I didn't brawl with them.
Yeah.
They said they wouldn't manhandle me.
Oh, well, that's good. I don't think that would be a good look, manhandling you. You can hold your own, but I don't think that would have been a good look. Yeah. And I don't think they want...
Well, I did ask him, are you going to manhandle me? And he said he wouldn't. Yeah. So
I'm sure some of these officers... I'm sure some of these officers didn't want to be going in there and doing this over a mask either.
They didn't.
How long were you in there without a mask before the police took you out? And do you believe that in any way what happened in there and your refusal to leave interfered with the administration of that election?
Oh, no. They just came in there and they said I had to leave. The election officials came in and they're like, you can't be here with the mask. And I said, well, you're going to have to, I can't leave for our people. There again, it's about our people. It's about, at the time I was part of the leadership of the Republican Party. And, that's my duty, was to make sure that our elections were secure, to protect I get it, they're older, and they have a system, but I have to protect them as well, that the public doesn't think they're cheating,
Well, I think that's an important point to make, is it's not just about, catching things that go wrong. It's about being able to tell people I watched, nothing untoward happened. And how long were you sitting in there without a mask before police came in to retrieve you?
Oh, about a half hour.
About a half hour. And did you see anyone else not wearing a mask, or that day was it just you?
No, it was just me.
Yeah.
I just went in there because I'd been in the hallway and I just said enough is enough, and I went in.
Yeah. So Como News came out, I believe it was the day after, and did a story on this whole controversy. And they captured a glimpse of an elderly man sitting there counting ballots without a mask on, without a mask in sight, no mask hanging down under his chin. What do you make of that? That you're let out by police and the next day there's someone in there sitting there on TV counting ballots without a mask on?
Well, first of all, I feel really bad for the guy, okay? Because like I said, I watch these people try to breathe in it, right? Because they, even at the statewide recount, they still had to wear masks. I had to watch them. Even though I didn't wear a mask, they still did. So, my heart breaks for him because I get it, right? But I just found it, to me, it was a God thing. It was a blessing that video was taken. And just at the moment she's saying there's no secrets, here's the guy not wearing a mask. And this was the day after. It was the same day because we actually gave him a cease and desist letter. Yeah. Okay. And we didn't file it at that time, right? But we just gave him the opportunity just to say, stop it, right? And yeah, that didn't work. But it worked in my favor, the video.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that's Exhibit A in court, right? Have you ever asked or been given an answer as to why that gentleman was able to be in there the next day with no mask?
Brandi, I haven't been there. I went there, we filed the cease and desist thing in court on election day.
Yeah.
And there was hundreds of people lined up to get a ballot. I'm like, what the heck? Why didn't you get your ballot?
Yeah.
But at that point, I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of stayed away. Well, I did go back. I did go back to see, because there's a video of me going back. I took my girlfriend and I said, okay, because they did it during the recount, they stopped it. So when I went back, I said, okay, I just want to make sure is the mandate gone? And it wasn't.
Wow.
So.
Well, yeah. Tracy, hang in there. I know that you guys are working through this. It sounds like you've given Prosecutor Banks your answer, that you're not pleading guilty to anything. And so if that means that they charge a felony, I think in this case, I mean, public opinion on this is going to be harsh toward the prosecutor, I think. You see the video of you coming out, perfectly polite, in a state that is soft on crime. To think that you're the person they're going to throw a felony charge at is quite unbelievable. So Tracy, keep us updated, okay?
Okay. Thanks a lot for having me, Brandi. And I want to tell everybody, okay, because I'm the mom, the wife, the grandma. Get engaged. I can't do this by myself. I can't be the voice. I have such an incredible team over here, our ladies group. They are getting on this school board, and I see a change. So it may look ugly, right? You may be getting the smackdown, but you are the voice. You're the only people. We are taking our country back. If it's all the moms and grandmas, so be it. But we are taking our country back.
I love it. I hope Donald Trump sees this. He'll just be your number one fan. So, Tracy, thank you so much. Thank you for taking a stand, and we'll be following this case until its conclusion or until the prosecutor does the right thing. So, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Brandi.
Crazy, right? That's the person they're going to charge with a felony crime. Does she seem like somebody who's deserving of a felony? And look, at the end of the day, they knew that they were supposed to wear masks in there. Obviously it's a ridiculous mandate. I don't know if it's legal, but until they go through the steps of trying to challenge it or whatever it is, I don't know that they can have no expectation that there'll be no consequences for them. But I think escorting them out and not letting them in there is consequence enough. I think it's stupid, but can't we just leave it at that? Like, hey, you can't be in here unless you're going to wear a mask. And then they can go and challenge the mask rule and all of that stuff. But to say, we're going to charge you with a misdemeanor, and then we're going to turn around, and if you don't accept that misdemeanor, we're going to charge you with a felony. And as a prosecutor, I'm not going to recuse myself, even though I have a documented history of unhinged, vile beliefs about Trump supporters, Republicans, and anti-maskers. The whole situation is insane. It's clear lawfare. In my opinion, it's prosecutorial misconduct. It is using the power of your office to go after cases that you yourself say you usually wouldn't have any involvement in, and to charge them under ridiculous statutes that clearly don't apply to the situation at hand. And look, find something. If the officers believe that Tim Hazlow was being disorderly or whatever it is, even though watching the video, I don't see anything disorderly in there. He made him take him out, maybe trespass him from the building or something like that. The whole situation is insane. We have more follow-ups that we're working on as we speak, because we are not going to let this thing go, because Tracy and Tim deserve better than that, and our election system deserves better than that. I mean, they'll hardly ever take any accusations of election interference or fraud or opportunities for fraud seriously, won't even talk about it, and all of a sudden 2 people don't wear a mask in a ballot counting room and they're Republicans, and you're going to throw a felony at them? Crazy stuff.